Amchi is a master physician of Sowa Rigpa, and Sowa Rigpa is the name of the healing science of Tibet. It was founded more than 2,500 years ago. Sowa means nourishing, and Rigpa means awareness. And so Sowa Rigpa means nourishing awareness. And it's very much a holistic healing science that takes into account all aspects of healing, the mind, the body, and the spirit, and especially so the spiritual side of healing. And that's where I was feeling a disconnect with what I'd experienced with herbal medicine. Was the physical aspects of healing were being addressed, but the underlying emotional and spiritual things that have been there for a long time weren't really being dealt with. And so when I was introduced to Tibetan medicine, I quickly recognized that this element of healing that I've been looking for was present, and with amazing vibrance and radiance within the healing traditions of Tibet, I found my path to completing my healing. So the Tibetan tradition of Sowa Rigpa, it's been held sacred and true for centuries in treasuries of understanding that really look at the nature of the mind, as well as nature's mineral and plant kingdoms, and the exquisite healing qualities that work in concert together. We have created formulations that fuse the ancient wisdom of plant phytotherapy with modern pharmacology and current science. And what this does is it ignites cellular receptor awareness and advances the bioavailability and uptake of the formulas that we create through our body. These formulations are actually awakening bioelectrical cellular receptivity and exponentially increasing the healing and regenerative properties of the botanicals and the minerals that we use. Our Amchi incorporates current science, which he has been studying in the West for the past 30 years, in addition to his training in Tibet, and has expanded the role of plant medicines and their use in therapeutic roles. His approach has been pretty amazing. We've shared this with different holistic practitioners, the top Ayurvedic physician in the world, and they're just blown away by the spiritual resonance and aspect of what we've created. And it's really attributed to the terpenes. Sowa Rigpa places a really strong emphasis on prevention and maintaining balance. The system, it teaches that preventing disease is far more beneficial than treating it after it's appeared. And so a significant aspect of this approach involves maintaining harmony among the body's three humors, or as known in Ayurveda, the doshas. In Tibetan medicine, the humors are known as wind, bile, and phlegm. And each of these are believed to be fundamental to achieving good health. Holistic well-being in Sowa Rigpa encompasses a balanced diet, regular physical activity, herbal medicines, and mindfulness and meditation practices. And all of these elements are really tailored to the individual's needs and are aimed at preventing illness and promoting longevity and really ensuring a balanced mind and body. And that has been the goal of what we have created, is to bring balance to the mind, body, and spirit within one experience without having to find those aspects elsewhere or in different places. The ancient medical science is not only a form of healthcare, but it's considered a way of life. It encourages a harmonious existence with the natural world and a proactive approach to health and to wellness. My favorite part is terpenes, and that's what we'll get to now. One of the first things that Amchi ever taught us was that terpenes in Tibetan medicine are considered the life force energy of plants. He shared an experience where he was working with Tibetan Lama physicians during his training, and as they were drying the botanicals and preparing them for formulation, he could actually see the life force energy leaving as the terpenes were leaving the plant. And he asked his teacher about that, and the teacher said, yes, what you're seeing is the life force energy of the plants. And, it's not possible for us to keep that life force energy within our formulations. Maybe one day that will be possible. That was, I think, in 1972 or 1974 that he had that conversation. And, now almost 50 years later, thankful to the hemp and cannabis industries, we have a huge terpene advance in science. Now we have more than 3,000 terpenes that are available in isolated forms, very clean and organic. And those can be put into different synergistic combinations to increase the healing potential of herbal medicine. And so what was not possible then has become possible now. And so we are integrating these life force energies back into each of our formulas, which greatly increases the life force energy within each of the formulas. We incorporate different concepts of vibrational medicine into our product formulations. And this is really pretty special and something that we spend a lot of time making sure is as good as possible. We use Earth Schumann frequencies or Earth Schumann resonance frequencies, as well as golden Fibonacci sequence. The Schumann resonance frequencies, for those who don't know, they are natural electromagnetic waves that occur between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. They're thought and long believed to promote healing and balance within the human body by themselves. The golden Fibonacci sequence is actually used in our formulation process to align those same patterns that are found in nature, and which are also believed to contribute to the product efficacy and the harmony of the body's natural rhythms. These innovative approaches really combine ancient wisdom with modern science in a way that's never been experienced before. They enhance the efficacy of traditional remedies through precision and also the intention in our formulation. And this integration has ensured that our products not only address the physical ailments, but also support the overall well-being in alignment with natural principles. We put terpenes into every single one of our formula, and every formula has its own unique synergy of terpenes. We call this science synergy-enhanced terpenes. And so some of our formulas will have 6 terpenes, some of them have all the way up to 30 terpenes. And the intricate balance between these terpenes is something that we've spent a lot of time mastering and really understanding through Amchi's guidance. And with the combination of terpenes and the botanicals, we're able to address multiple chronic health conditions at once, and trust that the formulas will work in synergy with each other to bring balance at the same time, rather than having to isolate specific symptoms and issues and deal with them one at a time. These are a few of the terpenes that are found in our products. My experience with terpenes began when I started receiving samples from the store that I was working at, and I would notice different effects. At the time I had a lot of health things going on, so it was easy for me to notice a difference. I first started noticing a difference with my focus, my ADHD. There were certain CBD products with different terpene combinations that really elevated my ability to focus, the time I could stay focused, the memory and creativity that I had. And in recognizing that, I thought, well, maybe this has something to do with the terpenes. And so I started to just keep a journal of the terpenes in the different products and would write down the different aspects of my experience with those terpenes. And over the course of about a year, I compiled 60 or 80 pages of notes. And I was able to then take those and cross-reference them and learn which terpenes worked for me, but also would work for anybody, because those same biomedical applications, would work for anyone else. And so I noticed that there were specific terpenes within some of these formulas, like limonene, which is used for, as you can see, liver detoxification, weight loss, sleep aid, but also for mood and focus. I also noticed that the A-pinene and B-pinene terpenes, every time they were in a formula, my arthritic pain went down, my focus ability went up, I wasn't getting as tired, and I also felt more balanced and calm. I wasn't feeling any anxiety or angst as I would go to work. And so I started working with some of these isolated terpenes just to see what would happen if I put a bunch of these focus-orientated terpenes into a formulation. Would they all work together, or would they work against each other? And I soon recognized that what I thought was the case was true. And so that began a process of creating different terpene profiles for different CBD products that we had created, and they were very successful. Now, with the addition of Amchi to our team, we are incorporating the same science of terpenes into our botanical formulations, and we've taken it to a new level with the different vibrational medicine aspects of our formulation.
Trinn, can I just interject here for a sec?
Sure. Yeah.
Um, so this was something that I haven't talked to you about, but I was at an agriculture event here in St. George a couple of weeks ago. People from all over the world, entrepreneurs who are creating some really innovative agricultural products. One of the individuals um, from Australia, from Melbourne, was there introducing a new product that would kill weeds while regenerating the soil.
Wow.
And I asked him, I said, so uh, how did you develop this formula? And he said, prayer and meditation.
Hmm.
And
Very
this is
good.
a scientist. And I'm intrigued. And I said, well, my son does a lot of that kind of thing as he prepares these products and does the formulations and so on. In fact, he uses terpenes quite a lot. I said, have you heard of terpenes? And he smiled and he said, yes. And then he took the label, and the limonene terpene was in his product.
Wow.
And he has that in the product because he found that it does a much better soil regeneration than without it. So
Yeah.
there you go. Another use, son.
Yeah, it's interesting. Terpenes are considered safe by the FDA. They're grass, which means generally recognized as safe. But there's very little emphasis put on their healing potential and the biomedical effects of terpenes within our bodies. I think that you're going to start to see here really ramp up an awareness of what terpenes are really capable of doing. On a environmental level, terpenes are responsible for plants procreating, for plants being able to protect themselves from different pests, different viruses and bacterias. Terpenes are the checks and balance system of nature. And so they act in very similar ways within our own biochemistry. Our biochemistries are hardwired to the energetics of plants. And so when we understand how the energetics of plants work, we can guide them to facilitate healing throughout our biochemistry. And what I've learned working with Tibetan medicine, most significantly about terpenes, is that they have the ability to awaken our innate and natural healing systems within us, which means we are healing and regenerating and restoring within ourselves, not relying on anything or anyone to do that for us. And so a beautiful part of what we've created is this awakening and awareness of that innate healing, that innate master healer that lives with and resides within all of us. The next slide here is mind, body, and spirit. And I just wanted to touch on a few of the things that I learned in my journey that really helped me to get off the medications that I've been put on, get myself back out of the rut that I was in, off disability and back to work. I was focusing on my physical aspects of healing and not really addressing the spiritual and the emotional side. And in doing that, my healing came full circle. And so it's really a focus and emphasis on how we educate and share with our customers and the people that we work with. Um, that a focus on the mind, body, and spirit is really needed if you want to attain healing and continue it long term. We have had a lot of experiences over about a 3-month period where we were working with different customers and different practitioners. They were working with their patients, and we were seeing some blocks to the protocols that we were signing. The medicines weren't working as well as they should have. And so one day I went to see Amchi and was a little frustrated, and I said, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, Amchi. I'm following what you've taught me, but there seems to be some people that just aren't responding to the medicine. And I said, what could that be? And he kind of thoughtfully looked off for a few moments, and he came back and he said, we need to support the heart, Trinla. And I said, oh, why do we need to support the heart, Amchi? And he said, well, the heart has its own neural network, and we need to help people to release and let go of what's been stored there that's not conducive to their healing, the traumas and the emotions. And that began creating a formula with two intentions. One was to help this aspect of healing, to remove the blocks within the neural network of the heart that are stopping us from healing. And also for my dad. I hope you don't mind me sharing, Dad, but he'd had some stents put in his heart and some heart issues. And we created something for my mom a little while ago, and I knew we needed to make something for Dad. And so we asked Amchi to create this formula that we called Healing Heart, and not only to address the spiritual and emotional aspects of healing, but also the physical aspects of heart health. And so we created a formula that is called Healing Heart. And this is a picture of it on the screen right now. So Healing Heart is really an infusion for all healers, for anybody that's working with others and helping them on their path. I had, at the time that we decided to create this formula, also been experiencing other people's energy. Sometimes I'd spend 10 or 12 hours on the day doing consultations, speaking with lots of ill and sick people and people in tough situations. And I wasn't doing enough to ground those energies and to let those things go and leave them where they were. And so this formula has helped me, with my own practice, to be able to end the day with whatever's happened and leave it there and not take it home with me. And that's been a huge benefit for myself as somebody that helps others on their path to healing. And if any of you here are on that path, which I suspect many of you are, then I would strongly suggest you investigate this formula further, because it has been life-changing. Our hearts, they generate a strong electromagnetic field that permeates our whole body. And when the heart is activated with the higher frequencies of love and compassion, its electromagnetic field is actually amplified and expanded, and this creates a torus field activation. The pineal gland's sensitivity to electromagnetic energy causes it to begin vibrating and acting in concert with the heart. So as these two organs entrain together, their combined higher octave vibration opens the third eye to greater inspiration, intuition, and intervision. Healing Heart also supports balanced administration of field energy. In Tibetan medicine, it's referred to as lung qi within the central sushumna, nadis, meridians, and collaterals, and also works to restore the qi vitality to the heart as well as all of the other organ systems. So Healing Heart's really been established or created to establish a balanced state of mind and a clear, happy heart. It supports the body in managing stress, anxiety, and depression. And for myself, I actually use it before bed to help with sleep. It is very effective for people that have had insomnia long term. We talk about, heartache and heartbreak and wearing our hearts in our sleeves, because we instinctively know that the heart it's more than just a blood pumping muscle. And actually, most traditional native medicines have the same belief. The heart in Tibetan medicine is considered the emperor of the organs, and it has a very close relationship with the brain and also houses mental consciousness and memory. It also governs speech and sleep. So a dysfunction of the heart can cause, mental restlessness, poor memory, depression, anxiety. And someone who has a heart type depression, in my experience, it comes through, and I know I can sense it just by the way they speak. Usually they'll speak very slowly, or sometimes have trouble just connecting from the heart. The emotion, as we know, that enhances the heart is joy. And this also expands and supports our chi. One thing we noticed, and you'll probably have noticed as well, is that too much of anything, even a good thing, can throw the balance of the body off. When you think of somebody who's being manic, they have trouble sleeping, they may talk very fast and be very excited. They may also have trouble connecting with other people. This can actually feel good for a time, but it is really too much joy for the body to sustain. And so we have the common swing to the other end of the spectrum. And for some people, that turns into depression. On the other hand, too little joy can also injure the heart. And, when we think of this, we think of cold-hearted. Excessive cravings and addictions can also be an aspect of joy as well. In a world that's filled with stress and, fast-paced living, we decided that a heart formula was necessary. And this is what we've created. Healing Heart combines the phytotherapeutic abundance of Tibet's finest herbs, each uniquely nurturing a healthy heart and fostering emotional equilibrium. And Dad, I thought I'd ask you if you wanted to share your experience with that formula.
Sure. Didn't know you were going to do that. So this is totally off the cuff. Real quickly, there are two that I take every day, and one is the monatomic gold that really does an amazing. Actually, it's three, but I'll stick with the one you're suggesting, Trinn. I'll stay on focus here. So the healing heart, for me, as Trinn explained it, it has many components, and I find that when I take this, particularly a couple times a day, I certainly take it and before I go to bed, but taking it at least once during the day, um, my heart feels stronger, feels like it can kind of withstand more. And I feel, oftentimes, I feel just a type of rush that comes through me that lets me know that the body is absorbing this and using it as it should, because it has its own intelligence. The body does, obviously, and it knows where it needs this formula the most. So I can feel that from time to time in my body itself. So, given my heart issues, this is a must for me every day.
Yeah, thank you, Dad. We created a formula for my mom as well. I didn't put it into the slides here, but she's on the call. I didn't think she'd be on the call, so I just want to mention our white elephant formula for two reasons. One, because of mom, but the other because healing heart and white elephant is a pairing of formulas that I've been testing myself for the past few months during meditation, and it's absolutely phenomenal. The coherence that's established, it's much stronger than it would be without me using those as part of my practice. But my mother, Marianne, she had a pineal gland tumor. I think a lot of you may be familiar with the story, but she'd ended up in multiple surgeries, brain surgeries, had actually coded and died on the table and was brought back, and had all kinds of degenerative things that had happened within her mind that she just wasn't able to get full clarity back. She wasn't able to see. Her vision had been lost. And we put her in front of the best neural ophthalmologists and doctors in the world, and their consensus was there was nothing that modern medicine could do for her. And so it was actually the second formula that we ever created, or initiated to create. Amchi, after we made our first formula, said, "What should we make next, Trinla?" And in my mind, I was weighing up all these things that I've been considering making, but my mom, she's my mom, and I thought, well, should I ask him to make something for mom, or is that being selfish? And I thought, no, she's your mother. She brought you into the world. There's nothing selfish about that. So I asked him, I said, Amchula, is there anything we can do to regenerate neurons in the visual cortex? And he had no idea about my mom's situation. And he kind of thought about it for a few minutes and he came back and he said, why do we need to regenerate neurons in the visual cortex? And I said, to be able to see. And I explained what had happened with my mom. And he kind of went, well, there's things that can happen within the brain that don't require neurons to be able to see. And he began creating a formula that would help her get her functions back within her mind, bring her mind back into clarity. And that formula, White Elephant, I think has done a marvelous job. When mom started using that formula, she was much different than she is now. And thankfully, the last trip that she went on, she sent me a very beautiful message, and it said something like, one of the most wonderful things about my trip is when my friends come up to me and they hold my hand and they look me in the eyes and they say, Marianne, you're back. And after 14 years of traumatic brain injury, that must be a pretty marvelous thing to hear from the people you love the most. And so, Mom, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Is there anything you'd like to share about your experience with White Elephant?
Thank you, Trinn. Thankfully, it's only been 10 years of recovery and it all happened in 14. So I'm going to shave four years off my healing trajectory. But I think, every one of us comes to a point where we're confronted by our own mortality in different ways. And having a son who was going on this very extraordinary journey, but as a mother, you kind of go, it's kind of like the prophet hath no honor in his own village. And so here's my son achieving these amazing successes in the realm of healing, yet I was a little, really? You really think that's going to help me? Because I was at a point of not expecting too much. I had been told by doctors that my neurons wouldn't generate, my brain injury wouldn't suddenly go away, and literally had a neuro-ophthalmologist tell me to go home and learn to be blind. Thankfully, I'm stubborn and I refuse to lean into that. And I kind of, you really have to submit yourself to a power greater than you. And when Trinn came with my solution, I was like, really? Well, this is interesting. And so, nothing to lose. I submitted to 6 months of dedicated protocol on the white elephant. And what began to happen was this. Remember those foggy mornings when we wake up and we go, okay, what was I supposed to do today? Or we walk to the fridge with our laundry and you go, no, the laundry is meant for the washing machine, not for the fridge. Why did I do that? Those little cognitive slips that began to happen kind of around perimenopause really took a huge chunk of my function after 5 brain surgeries. But what I found after 6 months of really being disciplined with the white elephant was my cognitive function has come back. My executive function has come back. I don't have brain fog anymore. More likely than not, I'll remember what I need to do the next morning without that feeling of, I just can't remember. And that's a horrible, horrible feeling for all of us to go on. And I think when my brain started working more fully, it also freed up space in other parts of my body so that other parts of me could function better too. The stress was less. The ability to do the physical exercise became more pleasurable. So there was more motivation to move. So one of the things that I accomplished after 6 months on White Elephant was I booked and planned a 4-month trip overseas where I went on and off 11 planes in 4 countries and didn't skip a beat. And that would have been impossible before I took this protocol. And for me, the joy of being me again, there's no price point you can put on that. So I'd really invite each of you to listen to my son, who I honor because I just don't know where this amazing brilliance has come from. But I've seen my life change, my husband's life changed. He developed protocols for my brothers who were fighting cancer, and one went from being given 3 months to live to living 3 years. And those 3 years were an extraordinary gift. And I think, every product works differently to every one of us, but none of us know the potential of our healing until we submit to the journey. So thank you for all that you've done for me, for Dad, and for all these fine folks here on this call, Trinn. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mom. Yeah, it's beautiful to hear that story, and every time I hear it, I think it almost sounds unbelievable, and then I have to remind myself, no, it's the truth. It's a big part of what we have done in creation has been where the needs have been. When we come across a customer who's dealing with something that we have no answers for, we'll go and create a formula for it and put it into our repertoire so that we have it to draw on next time that issue pops up. To move on, because I know that we're running a little bit low on time, I wanted to just spend a few moments and just give a little bit of insight into goji berries. I'm sure everybody here has probably heard of goji berries before. They've been around for 40 or 50 years now, and they were actually brought here by our Tibetan physician, Amchi. Back in the late 70s, he began importing these berries and coined them as goji berries. And so there's actually Tibetan goji berries, which are very, very healing and used in Chinese, Ayurvedic, and Tibetan medicine. And then there are wolfberries, which are marketed as goji berries by the Chinese. They're a different type of berry that look almost identical. The difference is the wolfberries grow in much lower elevations. They're much more plentiful in harvest. And so the cost per pound is about a tenth of what they would cost to grow in the Tibetan lowlands of the Himalayas. And so we have taken that torch from Amchi, and we now import these goji berries by the pallet and distribute them throughout the US and the world. And so goji berries, just to give you a few facts, goji means happiness berry. They're considered a happy berry and used for all kinds of anxiety or depression. I was told a story by Amchi one time where he was in a clinic with one of the Lama physicians that was teaching him. And Westerners were coming a lot at that time and trying to find a guru, and they'd come in and get a consultation. And he said one after one, they would come in and they'd all have the same issues. They'd have lots of lung, which is considered like anxiety or, imbalanced energy within the channels. And, in his experience, he would have done something different for them with those symptoms. But this Lama physician would pull out a little bag. He'd put some goji berries in there. He'd hand them the bag. He'd tell them to go out and sit by a stream, take their feet off, and put it in the grass and eat the goji berries. And if they were still feeling the same, to come back and he would find something else to help them. And he said he watched him say this to these Westerners over and over again, and over the course of weeks, none of them ever came back, and the goji berries were doing the job. And so these are a very powerful superfood that can be incorporated into your diet that will keep a whole plethora of potential diseases and imbalances at bay. They have 500 times more vitamin C than orange, and that's 500 times. They're also a really amazing source for vitamin A. Goji berries have pretty significant amounts of B1, B2, B6, and E vitamins, as well as really high antioxidant levels. They're used as a source for selenium and germanium, and have also been included in dozens of clinical trials for cancer treatments, and are actually given to patients undergoing chemotherapy because the berries confer really pretty profound protection for the liver as those patients are going through those chemotherapies. In Oriental medicine as a whole, they're said to correct qi deficiencies, which means that if you're having low energy or insomnia or even heart palpitations or anxiety, just consuming goji berries will help to remedy those naturally. This is one of our most unique formulas. This is the one that Dad mentioned before. This is called Ethereum. And Ethereum is made from monoatomic gold ormus. I'm not sure if everybody here is familiar with ormus, but ormus was created by the Egyptians all the way back during the Sumerians, and even the Essenes are documented as creating this. It's basically taking salts from the Dead Sea out of their current. It's taking them into a subatomic state, which allows our energy systems within our bodies to catalyze and use those energies. When you take ormus, the body begins to really tune into the unifying forces that exist within ormus when it's created correctly. And this begins a process of repairing the accumulated deficiencies within our bodies. The repairing, it liberates more energy, gives the body more energy to use to be able to self-regulate its own healing processes. And it also gives a pretty significant energetic and euphoric lift. It's believed that this lift happens because the ormus is actually helping to increase the efficiency of the body, the brain, and the entire energy field is coherently stimulated. The exalted effects of the alchemized materials that we use in Ethereum, and really all of the Tibetan medical tincture infusions, increases a higher octave of spiritual perception, which helps our natural psychic abilities and also the universal connections to our higher self and higher octaves of consciousness. This substance, monoatomic gold, was found in the king's chamber of the Giza pyramid. I believe 5 tons of fermented ormus powder were found in the king's chamber. And that gives you some idea of how the king deemed the value of this substance. If he was choosing to be buried with it, with all of his other, prized possessions, and he considered this much of this substance to be needed for his journey to the afterlife, then that gives us an indication of how revered this was by the Egyptians. It's an alchemical process that requires a lot of energy. The process for nucleating the ormus can be done in many different ways, but we use a way that's been designed by Amchi through Tibetan traditions that really makes the cleanest, most potent ormus that we've been able to find. We use different techniques like solfeggio frequencies, different sacred mantras, sacred geometrical shapes, and we use different types of sound as well in singing bowls. And so we create a field of energy for the ormus to nucleate in. The way ormus has been described to me in my experience of it is it's like a bunch of little baby consciousnesses in a beaker. It's programmable, it's intentionable, it's very much a living essence in a bottle. And so when you support those living essences with the right influences, it greatly increases the healing potential of the ormus. We then take the ormus, we combine it with terpenes that increase and enhance the potential of the ormus to be able to get into the cells and to affect healing on a very profound level within the systems of the body. Some of the reported benefits from ormus are increased energy levels, sleep-wake cycles being balanced and improved, waking up earlier and just feeling more alert and having more clarity, access to higher states of creativity and creative flow. And that's, what I use ormus for now is when I need to go and create something or put together a presentation, I'll use some, a dropper of ormus, and within half an hour, if I sit down at my computer, more often than not, I'll be there 8 hours later because I'm just go focused and getting it done. And it's a seamless state of flow. Other possible benefits include, but haven't been proven by science yet, that ormus can improve the immune system. It also helps with DNA structural repairs and improvements, can heighten psychic abilities, increases and balances better hormone production, also improves red blood cell production. It's used in esoteric communities for slowing or reversing the aging process and has been attributed to helping the body to create more telomerase, which is the chemical that is responsible for telomere growth. And for those of you who know what telomeres are, scientists can use the lengths of telomeres to discover our genetic age. Once your telomeres are too slow, you're dying or dead. And so that's a very interesting part of the ongoing study of ormus. It's also really effective at keeping the mineral levels balanced and up in the body. We've tested this formula with different types of aura measurements. We've used a device called a Healy and some different types of aura photography, biofeedback machines, and actually been able to see the aura strengthen and increase in vibrance and radiance just after a few minutes of using this formula. So I encourage you to, if you haven't learned or studied ormus, to really do some research. It's a very, very, very profound alchemical really gift that's been overlooked because the market's saturated with a lot of stuff that doesn't work. And so people try it, they don't have an experience, and they forget about it. But when you find the right product, you'll see that this is very unique in its ability to elevate life really on all levels. This is one of my favorite parts of what we're doing. For the last 2,000 or more years, Tibetan Buddhist monasteries have been creating their own pill formulations. These on the picture that you can see on the screen are called Rinchen Precious Jewel Pills. And these really are the epitome of Eastern pharmacology. Some of these pills have been made for centuries. There are stories of pills that were made 500 or more years ago that are still fully intact, haven't degraded at all, still sitting on the monastery altars. There's two different types of Tibetan pill medicines. There's the traditional pill medicines, which are like our over-the-counter prescriptions or over-the-counter medications that we will go and get, for dealing with symptoms. And then there are specialized medicines, the Rinchen and precious pills, which not only incorporate botanicals, but minerals, as well as precious metals that have had their toxic elements removed, and also crystals. And so for those who have worked with crystals in healing before, this is one of the oldest traditions that's done so. And in some of these formulas, there are dozens of different crystals that are used in the formulation process, which catalyzes healing on levels that aren't possible with just the botanical formulations. Some of these include we have a pill that's used for rebalancing the enzymes within the liver when people are in liver disease or have had chronic drug addiction or alcohol. That will help people that are in the late stages of liver disease to stick around longer and have more time with their family. And for those that are able to, it will actually help the liver to regenerate, which is very difficult to do in any healing science. Another one of the ancient pills that we actually got from Mom, and I think we just sent them to her recently, are called Chakwal Chenmo. And Chakwal Chenmo are made for the eyes. They are used in Tibetan medicine a lot, actually, because they're so high up in the Himalayas to the sun that the sun will beat off the snow and the reflection will cause all kinds of eye problems in the children and in the adults. And so these pills are used to stop those degenerative trajectories and to start a healing trajectory if needed. A pill that I use myself that's really been monumental to my own healing is called Rinchen Jumar 25. And this is a pill that is used for an ailing nervous system or for a brain that just needs to be recalibrated. In my injuries, I'd had a lot of nerve damage and a lot of neurological issues. And even with the formulas that we created, I'd got them all managed and was dealing with it. What the little discomforts that I had when I'd work out and exercise didn't seem to be a big deal. But then I put myself through a protocol of 10 of these pills. And the difference was I went from lifting very low amounts of free weights before I would tweak something and get sore to being able to lift the weights that I wanted to and not having any soreness during or even after. I went from being able to not ride a bike, just an electric bike, to now turning the electric off on the bike and riding up hills and down hills. And I never thought that would be possible. And also, it's enabled me to be able to run again. My wife said I looked like I was running on a treadmill because I haven't stretched my legs out that far for so long, but I ran for about a quarter of a mile the other day and stood there and waited for the pain to kick in, and it never kicked in. So those pills have catalyzed healing for me, even on a more expansive level than what was possible with our Tibetan infusions and formulations. And that's a reason why we import these. We asked the monasteries for permission about 3 years ago to distribute these pills in the West, and it took them about 6 months to give us permission because these have never been available in the US before and never been available to the public. And so we take a lot of care in ensuring that we represent this lineage and these medicines with as much integrity and humility as possible. You can learn more about all of these pills on our website if you just click the traditional Tibetan pill medicines tab. I think we have about 30 pill medicines, more than I have time to go through today.
Trinn,
Yeah.
and you mentioned time, and we've got about 15 minutes until we need to basically sign off. So I want to make
Okay.
sure that I have some time for the Q&A. I think the Shilajit may be a great way to kind of
It's
close
the
off
last
your
one.
conversation. I'm such a big fan of Shilajit, but I want to make sure
Tell
we
him your
have some
Shilajit
time.
story, Dad.
Well, real quickly, because I really want to give this time to those of you who have been listening. But Shilajit, according to both Trinn and my wife, have actually affected my hair color in terms of they're saying that my original hair color is coming back, that the energy that I receive from Shilajit, the minerals that are in that formula, I just don't feel the same unless I take Shilajit every morning. And it affects the skin, makes it more radiant, makes it more pliable. This is my favorite of all of them because it can do so many things with the right minerals. As I said before, the body really knows where to put this. So that's my comment on that. I just love it and suggest that each of you take a look at this. It's becoming more and more popular, but what Trinn offers is a very unique formula. But if that's okay, Trinn, maybe another closing comment or two before we go to the questions. Is that right?
Yeah, no worries. Just real fast. What Shilajit is it's a substance that's found in the Himalayas at high altitude, and it's a bioaccumulation of microorganisms and minerals from the whole of the Himalayas. It contains more than 85 minerals, as well as fulvic and humic acid. And this gives the body foundational mineral support and balance to be able to regenerate and heal itself. So if we're trying to affect healing on any level, without the right minerals in our body, they're the tools for healing. We will come up short. And so Shilajit is described in the ancient Tibetan sutras as a destroyer of weakness and conqueror of mountains. And so anybody that's dealing with any kind of issue that needs mineral support, this is your go-to. We've included different botanical adaptogens, as well as obviously terpenes, and some special ingredients like ormus. And the most special of these ingredients is nanodiamonds. We actually purchase nanodiamonds from a lab in Europe that are approved for different cancer treatments, and we incorporate those nanodiamonds into this formula, which greatly increases and expands the life force energy and the healing potential of it. In addition to that, there's colloidal gold, and a lot of plasmatic frequencies and different solfeggios that are used through the process of creation with that formula. That's all I have for now. Let's open it up to
Great.
some questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Trinn. Linda has a variety of questions that sound to me like it probably would justify you having a one-on-one, but let me give you some of the questions here. And you can answer as you go. And then what is not answerable at this point, Linda, we can put you in touch with Trinn and go over these more particular. So her questions are, can you overdose? How do you know how much to take? How do you know what to start with or what you need? Can you mix multiple products together? Are there any negative side effects or contradictions?
Okay.
So pretty good questions for, I think a lot of people would have the same ones.
Yeah. Let me make sure I got all these. So can you overdose? The answer is no. You know, we have some people that use 8 or 10 formulas in a day that are very sick. And the beauty of this system of healing is every formula works in synergy with each other. You don't accumulate things in your body that you don't need. Every formula has an exit strategy. You know, if it's a formula that's affecting inflammation, then there are botanicals that are within that formula that help the body to remove the inflammation from the body completely, not just bounce it around through different body systems. So, you know, in 5 years of doing this, no, we've never have had any interactions, no overdoses. You know, this is different to allopathic medicine because it's working within the natural rhythms of your biochemistry. It's not just trying to address a symptom and make the symptom go away, but it's working within your body's own internal communication to affect the balance and the balancing and the healing on a foundational level, rather than addressing the symptoms or addressing the causes to the problems. As far as how much to use, we generally start people with 0.5 of a mil. We recently increased the botanical levels in all of our formulas, so less would be needed. Some people will take that up to 1 mil. In rare cases, some people will use 2 mils, and reasons for that would be being morbidly obese, having very poor nutrient absorption, stomach issues, gut biome issues, but generally 0.5 of a mil to 1 mil is more than enough of a dose. Can you mix? You can mix the formulas, but we suggest to give about 2 to 4 hours between formulas. And the reason for that is every formula, as I just said, it's having its own unique conversation with your biochemistry. And if I was trying to do this presentation right now and had another computer over here I was doing another one on, I'd have a hard time keeping track of both conversations. And it's the same for our body. And so we really let our bodies focus energy within the time that it's absorbing that formula. That tends to be the way for it to work best. Negative side effects, I think, was the last question. And no, unless somebody has some kind of they're allergic to some kind of botanical or terpene or something, there's no reason why any interactions would ever happen. We work with physicians, medical doctors, naturopaths who have the same question, all of them, and we've been working for some of these physicians for 4 years now and had no interactions and no issues.
All right. So Linda had a question. We have Linda. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not Linda, but her partner there is talking about holding up the gold or the turquoise dragon, which clearly she truly loves. But I think Linda as well had a question about the Taurus field. You made a quick comment about that. So can you explain that a little bit more, please?
Yeah, the Taurus field, that's all of us have one. It's the field that's visible around our body. It can become very dull and sluggish and not in balance. And when that happens, it can affect our physical health, our energy levels, really everything. And so ensuring that that Taurus field is healthy by spending time, in meditation or using the healing heart formula, really, it expands the potential for healing on all levels. It makes things possible to heal and regenerate that weren't possible before. When you use healing heart and if you actually were to use it and meditate with it and just visualize the field around you, you'll start to become aware of it. For some people, they'll see the field. For some, they'll intuit that it's there. For others, it can be a little bit of a process to be able to make that connection. But once you do, you realize that there's constantly energies and informations that are always streaming through our Taurus fields. And that when we're able to listen and tune into those, we find that there's somebody on the other line providing guidance and inspiration and information almost always. And that's always available for us to tune into. And usually that's done best through the Taurus field.
Great. Thank you, Trinn. So Linda's iPhone, do you want to just take yourself off mute for a moment and talk about turquoise dragon?
Take yourself off.
Okay.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Jenny.
Hello. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
I'm from up north and I'm in St. George today. I'm like, I have to stop at this place because the turquoise dragon.
Just bought it today. Just
Wonderful.
bought it today.
So I was out, but it saved me in Bali. I got Bali belly, and that normally just like knocks you out for like 3 to 5 days. But the turquoise dragon, within 5 to 6 hours, I was back to normal. So when I got home, I was like, well, the next time I'm in St. George, because that's the only place I knew to get it. But so I just doubled up on it, and she got some today. And then we saw you were speaking at Yin on Fire. We're like, the universe is so
Synchronicity. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Turquoise dragon, for those who don't know, is an antibiotic. It's a Tibetan antibiotic that's been used for centuries. They've tried to reanalyze the formulation and make it better as new physicians and lamas come through, and they've never been able to improve it. It was done so well to begin with. And so that is an antibiotic in Tibetan medicine that would effectively replace about 70% of the antibiotics we're given through allopathic medicine. It's very safe, very effective, and it actually rebuilds the gut biome rather than destroying it.
Well, it's also antibacterial, right? Antiparasitic?
Antiparasitic, antibacterial, antiviral. We use it for long COVID protocols for people that have active COVID infections. It's really just a go-to for anything bacterial or viral in nature.
So Trinn oftentimes will say, okay, mom, dad, you're taking a trip. You're going to be exposed to all sorts of things at the airport and so on. Just take this as a preventative. Start a couple days before you take the trip, and then take it throughout the trip, and then a couple of days after, and it will work wonders for you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Okay. So we have Meg.
Yes,
you have
mold
one that will kill mold in the body. You want to take it away, son?
Yes, we have a very powerful formula.
This is great news.
It's called lime fungus mold, or Lifumo is what our Amchi coined it. It's powerful. To just give you a quick story on this formula, we sent it to Invitas Medical Group in Arizona. They have 100 physicians. They have a $250,000 Lyme remediation protocol that they do there. And we sent some bottles and asked them to test them with their patients. And they gave 6 4-ounce bottles out to 6 patients. And I called back about 3 or 4 weeks later and said, hey, how did the test go? And they wouldn't take my call and told me to call the pharmacy. And so they left it to the pharmacy manager to tell me. But I called the pharmacy manager and he said, honest, I'm just going to be honest with you, man. He said, we gave it to our patients and 3 of them called up and canceled their treatments. And I said, why would they cancel their treatments? He said, well, they wanted to finish the bottle and see if that helped them so they didn't have to pay the $100,000 for their Lyme remediation. And so I said, just being honest with you, man, we can't have this product because it's going to kill our bottom line and we still have to pay for these machines. So that's an indication of how well it works for limes, but it works just as well for molds and fungus. And actually, we have people, the lady that we created that formula for, she was a friend of ours. She called a friend of ours who was a good friend of hers and was saying goodbye because she was turning herself into a hospice. She put all of her belongings into an estate sale and put her house on the market because she thought she was going to die. She had Lyme's infection for 15 years, 20 different co-infections, black mold poisoning, chlamydia, pneumonia on her lungs, all kinds of horrible things. And so we put her into a protocol, convinced her to not go into the hospital. She went home and we started working with her. But we weren't able to get the results that we wanted to because we didn't have a formula that was targeted specifically to limes. And so Amchi, over the course of 3 months, created that formula for her. And I can tell you, I spoke to her yesterday. It's now been 18 months, and she says she's back to 80% of her health. She's back to practicing. She's a PhD physician. She works with animals, and she's now got her life back. She's still got that 20% to go, but that's a huge change from being on death's door. And so Lifumo is the name of that formula.
So Trinn, we have another question. Roger asked more to hear a little bit more about harvesting and directing the plant's energies into the formula. He'd like to know a little bit more about both of those issues.
It's I'm glad you asked that. The process of harvesting the botanicals is really quite profound. The Lama physicians will go out into the Himalayas to the areas where they grow, and sometimes they'll spend 3 months out there. We went here from the monastery for 3 months because they're going on a foraging mission with their students. There's prayers, spiritual ceremonies that happen long before they ever leave the monastery. A very, very high amount of intention and awareness goes into the cultivation and also the harvesting. They'll never deplete an area just because they need more medicines. They'll only take what's needed and leave enough so that it can continue the growth cycle into the next season. Amchi actually recognized that there was going to be a huge issue if we wanted to bring Tibetan medicine to the West with having enough botanicals to be able to, cater to so many people. And so in 1976, he, with the Dalai Lama's permission, created an institute called the Tanaduk Institute and began going through the different propagation areas and cultivation areas and teaching the farmers really advanced practices for turning over the soil, for keeping the crops as plentiful and as bountiful and as in harmony with nature as possible. And so I haven't seen any other practice or healing tradition that puts anywhere near the amount of awareness, compassion, and love into the process of harvesting. And from there, the botanicals are harvested and then dried at the monasteries. Some of the rinchen pills that I shared with you are prayed over continuously for an entire moon cycle to raise the vibration and the healing potential as high as possible. And so that's a huge part of what we do, is making sure that there's enough for what we need, but also so that nature is able to continue the process and have more next season.
Great. Thank you, Trinn. Okay, let's see. You may, Trinn, you want to talk just for a second about any individuals who would like to have a complimentary consult with
Sure.
you? Just would like to have that happen?
Yeah, we have a code you can use. We'll mention Unfire during consultation, and we'll comp a 15-minute free consultation, save you about $30. And usually that's enough time to answer questions and help point you in the right direction to whatever you may need. We also have a Yin on Fire. I think the code is Yin on Fire 20, And that code is good all the way through the next scene on fire, and that will give you 20% off our tinctures and topicals.
Great. Great. Thank you very much, Trinn.
You're
Any
welcome.
other final questions before we say goodnight?
I just want to say thank you, Trinn. And truly, I think it is profound, the intention around the medicine. I mean, how many of our pharmaceutical companies put that intention? Or what is the intention around? But I just find that very profound and beautiful. And I have tested many of the products and have had some really beautiful healing experiences myself. So I just want to say that I personally highly recommend this product and also the people behind it, because they're incredible humans. So thank you, Trinn.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Sal.
Yeah, I just want to.
Yeah, go ahead, Trinn.
Oh, I was just going to say, anybody that just has questions, feel free to just reach out to us. We're here to help and support you. We're very different in our focus as a company. We're truly committed to helping people heal and onto their healing journey. And so, we're here to do that with you. If you want to reach out by email, you can do that as well, trinn@jampha.com. But I just wanted to, let everybody know that we're here to support you in any way that we can.
Thank you very much. Just one more comment to kind of echo what Marianne said earlier. We were two of Trinn's toughest customers. We wanted to love and support them, but we couldn't endorse them unless we really had our own experiences. And not only we had our own experiences, but from time to time, Trinn will invite us to listen in a group of people, some of which have had the products and some have not. And the kinds of comments, testimonials that come back, almost they do make us tear up, because Marianne and I will look at each other and said, look at what he's doing to heal people who have lost hope in the traditional sort of medical community and are reaching out for something to really help them. And I've watched Trinn in his formulations. I've listened to him chant the mantras, the solfeggio music that's oftentimes playing, the sacred geometry symbols that's throughout the lab. You've never seen a lab like Trinn's, and his formulations are done in the lab in Blaine, Washington. And I know for a fact that he would welcome any of you, if you're ever up in that area, for your own personal tour of his lab. I think you'll find it an amazing place to be. So with that, we will close tonight. Thank you all for your participation. Again, we want to let you know that there's an event the 14th of May in which we're going to be announcing the musical lineup. Sal is working hard to get that prepared. It's going to be a special night. And just stay tuned on the website for additional news. We also want to remind you that the early bird pricing ends at the end of this month. It's $222. After that, it goes up about $50, and it will not come back down again. And at the event, we will be able to offer a special pricing for those of you who buy the early bird tickets at that event that day, the 14th of May. So if you haven't bought the tickets, you can wait for that event. Be sure and tell your friends to participate as well, because we're really wanting to push as many early bird ticket sales as possible before the price goes up. It's still a heck of a deal, but we want to give everybody the best opportunity for the best price. So that will happen on the 14th of May. And please take a look at Angel's comments below. She's famous and infamous for lots of comments during these Family Soul evenings. And we're really grateful to have Angel and Sal with us tonight. And thank you very much, Trinn. Your mom and dad are very proud of you. It sounds a little corny, but it's a heartfelt sense of deep gratitude for how you're affecting people's lives for the better. So please reach out to Trinn, and he will be as accessible as a human can be to help you. So no question is dumb or off limits. So please make yourself or take avail of this opportunity to spend time with Trinn. So with that, thank you very much. This is our last Family Soul evening for a few months. We will send out an invitation and a notification when the next ones will come up. So there'll be a break, and then we're going to resume with fervor to build up a fever pitch for the 19th through the 22nd of September. Please tell all your friends and all your neighbors, even those that may be enemies, it'll help them too. So just spread the word. This is going to be an amazing event. Incredible amount of work is going into this. So just take advantage of this and spread the word. So we love you all. What a great time this has been. Angel, thank you so much for making these Family Soul evenings possible. It was your brainstorm. And reach out to us if you have any questions, okay? So stay tuned on the website. It'll be updated from time to time. And thank you all, and to all a good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank
Good night.
you.